Good afternoon. I call the March 26, 2026 Audit and Risk Management Committee meeting of the Board of Regents to order. Claudia? We have a quorum. That's good. The committee is expected to adjourn its meeting at approximately 2:45 at the end of the executive session. Live stream of the public meeting is available to the public on youtube.com at the ABOR Live link. Is there anybody participating virtually? I see a couple. All right, Regent Garcia. Yep, and Richard's there. Okay, we're good. Today we will begin with the approval of the minutes from the previous public and executive session meetings, followed by updates on the enterprise risk management programs at ASU, NAU, and the U of A. We will then move to executive session where we will continue the conversation on enterprise risk management with each of the university's teams. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes from our May 29, 2025 executive session and the February 5th, 2026 public session committee meetings. Are there any questions or comments related to those minutes? Seeing none, I move as a motion, the committee approve the minutes from the executive session on May 29, 2025 and the public session on February 5th, 2026, Audit and Risk Management Committee meetings. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries. Our next order of business is a report from ASU, NAU, and the U of A regarding enterprise risk management programs. Brad from the board office will introduce this item. Brad, will you proceed, please?
Thank you, Chair. So as a reminder, the universities all engage in enterprise risk management processes that are designed to help the university reach out among all of their stakeholders within the community in order to understand all of the kinds of varied and significant risks that the university faces each year. So they have processes that they follow that they're going to spend some time describing for us today.
I didn't see Morgan. There. Yep, you're not. All right.
Okay, so, hello, everybody. Mike Anderson. Is Morgan coming?
I have no reason to believe he's not,
Okay.
but
It will be noted in his file.
he will be talked to at break.
Hey, I just
Wait
didn't
till
want to
executive.
circumvent the boss. So, hello, everybody again. Mike Anderson, AVP of Enterprise Risk Management for ASU. Wanted to take just a few minutes to talk a little bit about our pathway here. So, the ASU's ERM program has been officially stood up. There he is. Has been officially stood up for it's been a little over 3 years now. And so pleased to announce that we have established kind of our foundational base of our ERM program. Morgan, I don't know if you wanted to make any kind of
You're doing great.
introductory remarks.
Keep
Okay.
I think I'm late for that.
Okay, no worries. So we've laid the foundation, and so to date, we've identified, at this point, 25 enterprise risks. So we've workshopped those risks. We have done deep dive sessions with kind of smaller groups with the risk managers. We've done some EVP brief outs on kind of filtered up what we believe is kind of the most important and pressing areas. And then we've also we're now at a point of a level of maturity where we're doing our touch points, where we're circling back. We don't want folks to think, the risk managers, we're going to talk about this a lot for one period of time, and then we're never going to readdress it. So we now are on our touch point circle backs, if you will, a cadence. We're also picking up our game in our collaboration and benchmarking. In January, we held our first meeting of the Big 12 and Friends ERM working group. The Friends being NAU, obviously U of A being part of Big 12. We continue with our cadence of our enterprise risk working group on a quarterly basis. We've got probably 25 risk managers in there, as well as some folks like legal, emergency management, audit, that aren't assigned to a particular risk. And now we are also in the phase which I would describe as kind of threat or risk hunting, identifying new and emerging risks that we would kind of get probably a smaller group together, especially if they're, crossing different departments and different entities within ASU, get them together, figure out how we're going to mitigate. If we can't mitigate, how we're going to respond and recover. We're also refining our scoring, in particular the impact piece. So we score our risks by likelihood, 1 to 5, or times impact, 1 to 5. And what we have learned is we're feeling pretty good on the likelihood, but the impact scoring, we've done some refinement there. And we've actually taken a matrix from the University of Minnesota, who took it from the University of Illinois. And we are now starting to kind of roll that out and do a deeper dive on what that really means. And obviously the result would be, what can we focus on, or what do we need to focus on the most as a result of that scoring? We are also in the process of, now that we've got our 25 pillars kind of fully established and vetted, we are now kind of crosswalking that against our strategic plan to making sure we're in alignment there. And then hopefully by the end of the summer, early fall, we're going to have our ERM website stood up. Okay, so I mentioned the 25 enterprise risks that have been identified. Each one of those probably has anywhere between 4 and 8 sub-risks. So now you're talking about 125 to 150 sub-risks that we're looking at. So thankfully this year, because we've done a lot of this work, we've compiled what we've identified as probably what you'll see here, the 12 kind of notable sub-risks that are jumping off the page to us. No surprise that we've got several here from cybersecurity, campus safety, but there's a couple here that you may not have expected, like generative AI. And now that we've had an opportunity to get our enterprise technology folks together, along with some other departments, to kind of figure out what is that AI risk. In an executive session, I will focus on a little bit more of a deeper dive on a particular area of sensitivity that we're looking at. Intentional harm, youth protection. I think the ERM program has been fantastic for our youth protection program, because we have gone from more of a decentralized to a centralized model, and I think ERM really supported that. We have a narrowly tailored database specific to higher education for youth protection now. We're doing a ton of training and outreach, and we've really tightened up our incident response in the event that we have an incident of harm to a child. A few others here: campus safety, mental health and conflict. That is an area that we continue to give a lot of attention to. What sort of support are we giving to the community, to our students, to our faculty, to our staff with respect to mental health? We have a really robust in-house program, but we also do a lot of referrals out. And every one of our threat cases that we look at on the staff and faculty side, we apply the NABITA framework, which has a mental health component to it. And then the last thing, I don't have time to touch on all of these, but the campus immersion, you'll see there, bottom right corner. Student support staff models. This has been particularly important because this has been a tough year for us with enrollment. We've seen enrollment with international students drop. We've seen it drop with outstate students. And so now we're really focusing on what's that value proposition of higher education. You've got students out there worried about, is AI going to clear out all these white-collar entry-level jobs? We're offering a lot of tutoring, again, post-graduation career guidance, financial support or financial counseling which may lead to more support. So I think these are some of the things that, that we're really focusing on right now, and just a handful of some of the mitigations. Okay, next, again, because we've been able to compile all this information, we've identified some themes and some gaps. And these are some trends that we've seen, and it's crossing all of these enterprise risks. Improved communication, our communication gaps. We're seeing that between human to human, machine to human, machine to machine. Legacy IT systems and physical infrastructure, challenges there. It is nice to know that of these 7 that are listed here, that's the only one that really has a dollar, kind of a dollar sign attached to it. All the others are really kind of hearts and minds and culture that we're hoping to improve through communication and more collaboration. Standardized procedures, regular compliance reviews. We're seeing that in areas of ET, or enterprise technology, facilities and maintenance, supply chain management, as well as international operations, and so we're focusing on that quite a bit. Strategic vision and alignment. Their probably best example would be our ASU Online and our campus immersion program, talking to each other and dealing with the pressures that they're seeing with potentially declining enrollment. Vendor oversight is always a big one. Again, procurement, supply chain management, ET, and managing that third-party risk. And then last but not least, silos and decentralization. We do have somewhat of a decentralized environment in some instances. That's oftentimes a feature, and it is a kind of a reality of kind of the higher education environment. But if we've identified silos or decentralization, that we'd be more efficient and effective by being with more of a centralized model, we're pushing to go that direction. And so that is the conclusion of my prepared comments, if anyone has any questions.
We're asking for questions. I have one. Kind of go back to the Big 12 interaction. I find with our newness to the Big 12, this is a kind of an interesting outreach. Can you give us any more of how that went, how that was received, and levels of participation, I guess?
Sure. So it's fairly new. I would say ASU's maturity level is probably a little bit farther along than a lot of our counterparts in the Big 12, so that's a little bit of a challenge, but we're seeing some good things from some of these other schools. And we wanted to have the Friends component, so we've got a couple schools from the Big 10. And the idea here is we're looking at it, and when we get together, let's talk about process frameworks, but let's also talk about risks. So in April, we will have our next meeting, and we will probably pick one sub-risk. I think it's probably either going to be deferred maintenance or athletics. And just really try to build a collaborative discussion. What are you seeing out there? The nice thing about the Big 12, our athletic programs, using that as an example, fairly similar. We don't have, we're all kind of in a similar environment. I know it's a little bit different for NAU, but the idea there is to get some good takeaways, both on this how we're handling the substantive risks in that analysis, but then also what processes work best for folks. One thing I have learned is there's an old saying: if you've seen one ERM framework, you've seen one ERM framework. And so everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but I think that's not a bad thing, because I think you have to really understand your culture, your resources, and then build to that, as opposed to try to stick a square peg into a round hole when it wouldn't make sense.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
Chair, if I may, I'd love to ask Dr. Olson, because I think it is instructive just for the public, of how he takes these risks and incorporates them into the strategic direction that he works with the presidents and others. Just the bulleted list that you had up there.
Yeah, so Chairman, members of the committee, great question. We believe that operating executives in the organization own enterprise risk, and Mike and his team do a fantastic job. We're big believers in continuous improvement, and you learn from other people, which is, Big Ten and Friends. I don't know if you talked about UE and their typology, but We try to, every time something that's challenging happens, we try to do an evaluation after the fact and learn from it, and modify our risk management and mitigation procedures as a result. And, that, many of these things exist in various parts of the university, whether it's Sun Devil Athletics or student affairs or facilities. We engage with those executives, and they're experts, in the things that they work on, to come up with the best approaches. And so, we meet monthly for a reason, so that is done quickly, and that we can take insights away from that, and that actually informs operational plans, it informs strategic plans, and it informs allocation of resources. So we think it's very helpful to do that. I should have probably mentioned IT as well, because our Chief Information Security Officer is a member of this emergency preparedness group that meets monthly, and there isn't a month that goes by that we aren't talking about some aspect of information security for a whole range of reasons. And so I think it's a good process. We're also trying to continue to look at the process and compare with what other people do to make sure that we're as optimized for our environment, which is going to differ perhaps from someone else's all the time, but we're pretty serious about it. So I hope that's what you were looking for.
And if I may, I could give actually a real specific example of that with campus safety. We did all this work, the workshops, the deep dives. We brought it up to Dr. Olson and filtered down into some really key areas that we thought for support. Barricades, drones, smart cameras, and some enhancements with access control. And so with everything that we looked at, we were kind of funneling down to those areas, and we were able to direct Dr. Olson and other executives to that issue. And I think we've been able to address all four of those issues that I've, in some form or fashion, since that meeting. So I think that's where kind of ERM to action to implementation has worked out well.
Appreciate you greatly. Thank you. We'll see you in executive session. Next, as we excuse ASU, we're going to bring up Bjorn Flugstad and Becky McGaw. And the slide is up, Bjorn. There you go. All right, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Chair Brewster, members of the committee. Becky's going to walk through a couple of slides for NAU, and then we will answer questions that you might have from NAU's process. So, Becky.
Thank you. So, where's our
Clicker right next to you.
Right here.
next? Yeah, thank you.
Ooh, good.
NEU's enterprise, risk landscape is similar to ASU's, and very likely you'll see U of A's when they join us later. Several of our risk areas continue to have the greatest potential to influence NEU stability and long-term performance. Now, the risks you see on our heat map here are reviewed annually. We have our Enterprise Risk Management Oversight Committee that is made up of the highest levels of NAU, and those are also the risk owners. And each year we inventory our risks, and then we confirm them, and we map them on this heat map, just to give you an idea of our process. It hasn't changed significantly, but we do continue to do the inventory annually for our enterprise risks. The areas on this heat map include the condition and reliability of our physical infrastructure, as Bjorn mentioned earlier in the earlier committee meeting, enrollment patterns that create uncertainty for academic and operational planning, cybersecurity amid an increasingly complex threat landscape, revenue sustainability under both internal and external pressures, talent management that includes our ability to attract, retain, and support a capable workforce, and growing business and operational complexity. These risks are not independent challenges. They reinforce one another, and shifts in any one of these risk areas can place added pressure on others. So our heat map reflects how NEU's focus is concentrated on a set of risk areas that have the greatest potential to influence institutional outcomes based on both impact and likelihood. Risks that affect the university broadly And where conditions continue to change, sometimes very rapidly, are cybersecurity, talent management, enrollment, and revenue. Infrastructure and business complexity represent a different but equally critical exposure. While conditions may not change as rapidly, the consequences of degradation and delayed investment are significant. Together, these areas account for the majority of NAU's enterprise-level risk exposure and help explain where NAU's attention is most consistently focused. So if I can get it to go to the next slide. What's driving movement across the risk landscape are several broader trends that are occurring simultaneously. First, pressures that were previously developing gradually are now materializing simultaneously. NAU's managing overlapping stressors rather than discrete independent challenges. Second, risks are becoming more tightly linked. Financial pressures influence workforce decisions. Workforce capacity affects operational effectiveness, and technology considerations cut across nearly every part of the institution. The connection increases the likelihood that an issue in one area amplifies challenges elsewhere. Third, much of the risk environment continues to be shaped by factors outside the university's direct control. Economic conditions, regulatory expectations, technological threats, and environmental factors contribute to ongoing volatility and limit predictability. Fourth, emerging technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, are accelerating the pace and scale of risk. Rather than introducing a single new category, they intensify existing challenges related to cybersecurity, governance, workforce demands, and system reliability. Finally, even when the probability of disruption has not changed significantly, the consequences have. Constrained resources, deferred investments, and heightened scrutiny mean that adverse events carry greater institutional impact than in prior years. So taken together, these trends describe the complex enterprise risk environment that NAU is currently experiencing.
Great. Bjorn, any final comments there?
I think the one comment that I would have, and maybe taking Chad's question from earlier, because I could see him, teeing that one up.
I too, disturbance in the force. There you go.
An example of, the connection is just the prioritization that NAU had, for instance, to make an investment for our network firewall this year. That was something that we, had a need identified. We've heard that both from ASU and Becky talked about just the need for cybersecurity. So that was something that we made a priority in terms of a FY26 investment to make that come to fruition. And you also heard earlier this morning the connection from the investment in physical plant and the physical campus. Being able to prioritize and have the funds to make those investments is really critical, and that's why we had come forward with that academic fee. So just a couple of connections that are really relevant to our day-to-day this year.
Thank you. From the Regents, any questions? Regent DeVaul.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And you're free to say, I should take this up with the president, but I do want to ask because it obviously goes to reputation, it goes to risk. What have we learned from the overdose tragedy that occurred on campus? How have we dealt with potential mitigation of recurrence?
I think that, Chair Brewster, Regent DeVaul, I think that is an unfortunate situation. Certainly, it's something that we've learned that we've got to be able to respond quickly in terms of being able to provide support to those areas. Looking at trainings and making sure that areas have training, students have the appropriate trainings, staff have the appropriate trainings, and it is something that we need to be very conscious of in terms of how we respond in terms of that public response and know when to respond appropriately. Certainly something we can also maybe even further address in executive session too.
Any other questions? NAU team, thank you very much. We'll see you in executive session.
Thank you.
At this time, certainly last but not least, given that basketball momentum, feel it going towards the big game tonight, let's bring up the U of A, please. John, do you want to come on up with Bill? There we go. And if you try to shoot a shot. Don't do it. Don't do it. There we go. John, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, sir. You all know Bill Harrison, our Chief Audit Executive. We want to introduce Eric Machado, who's just joined the university 3 weeks ago.
Just about 3 weeks.
He is our new Chief Risk Officer, comes to us from Oregon, where he has a lengthy history in risk management. And with Eric coming on board 3 weeks ago, Bill will be doing the presentation today. So our hope is next time we go through this, Eric will be in a position where he can lead the discussion around risk mitigation at the university. But have Bill walk you through a couple of slides, and we're happy to take any questions.
All right, thanks, John.
You want to use this? I have never seen a slide remote quite like that one. So.
Constant learning.
So thank you so much for having me present today. Just a brief overview of the process. The same time last year, we announced that our Chief Risk Officer left. So in this interim period, the Chief Audit Executive did a university-wide risk and opportunity assessment. Just a couple of quick notes. Just broadly, we do an environmental assessment of trends in higher education from across the country based on survey organizations and their results, and of course, connecting what the University of Arizona is doing to the trends in higher education nationally. And then as part of the process this year, engaging with our University Risk Oversight Committee and interviewing members of that group in terms of where they see their priorities, their risks, their opportunities, and gathering and collecting all that information. And our Risk Oversight Committee is comprised of academic, financial, administrative, compliance leaders from across campus. So there are other components to what I did, but that was essentially the two broad buckets of how we pulled this list together and what we're presenting to you today. And again, it's really to inform what I do as the Chief Audit Executive, but also to inform next steps for our new Chief Risk Officer as he walks through and begins to formalize and structure our enterprise risk management program moving forward.
Eric, why don't you just take a second and introduce yourself and say hi to the committee?
Absolutely. Thank you, John. My name is Eric Machado. As John indicated, this is my third week at the U of A. Very excited to be here. Briefly, my background, I've been in public risk for about 18 years in Oregon, most recently with Clackamas County, which is a suburban county of Portland, Oregon, about 450,000 residents, but about a 2,500 employee base, and I was there for about 8.5 years, running their entire risk and safety programs. I've also been at a higher ed with Mount Hood Community College prior to the county, and previously to that with the Port of Portland in Portland, Oregon. So been in the area, or been in the field a long time. I'm really excited to be here in Arizona with U of A, and looking forward to building on the foundation, the risk and enterprise risk foundations that my predecessors have put in place, and these two have.
Do you want to mention that your son preceded you to the state?
My son is a recent graduate of none of the schools here, Grand Canyon University, and he loves Phoenix, and so he stayed here and got a job in the insurance field. A little help from a little push from me, but yeah, he's here, and then I have a senior in high school who is actually touring ASU today, and will tour U of A tomorrow to see if one of those is an option for him.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So what you'll see today is the framing is a little different than what you've seen in the past, and just in terms of what my experience is coming from the University of Vermont, where we framed enterprise risk as both risk and opportunity. And so we thought it would be good to provide some definitions for you it's really about, opportunity is really that positive outcome that comes out of the risk management effort. And again, a risk, again, is how we mitigate those negative impacts that we see. An obvious example is cybersecurity. That's never going to move into the opportunity field. But things like enrollment management, admissions, and our student success initiatives, obviously, they have strong potential for opportunity, and obviously, we like to frame those things in that way. I think that's an emerging trend in ERM. I guess there are some thought pieces that are coming out, whereas ERM includes risk management with a strong focus on growth and opportunity. So as you're moving through and doing your risk management practices, which we all have to do because there are a lot of them, is that there's always that strong focus on the opportunity side of the ledger, so to speak. And again, I think just in terms of top opportunities and risks that are presented to you today, I think we're in strong alignment with NAU and with ASU as well. These all look, I think, very familiar to you. I'm not going to highlight any of them, but I think there is alignment with not only the tri-university system here, but also with institutions nationally facing all the same pressures that we are here in Arizona. And just to wrap it up, again, next steps with new chief risk officer, again, looking at the current program state, building on what we did over the past year, recommending a more formal governance structure, and then guidance and expectations surrounding our enterprise risk management program, laying that out for our stakeholders. And again, a big piece of ERM obviously is education, to make sure that everyone who participates is aware of what we're doing, what the purpose of the program is, and it's not just a separate process, how it actually benefits leadership as they're working through these important areas, and how enterprise risk management aids that process in establishing those priorities, and then, of course, building out long-term program maturity. So I'll close it with that.
Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, questions for the U of A team? I guess, oh, go ahead.
I would like
Can you, go ahead.
the same question we asked Morgan and Bjorn. John, how do you take the risk that you've been given and institutionalize that and operationalize to mitigate those risks?
Yeah, sure. So we have a number of structures that we've put in place around that. It starts with internal audit at this point. Eric's going to start building out a little bit more of a risk management structure. We've built the IARB structure around internal audit, and with all of the senior leaders of the university, where we meet regularly, discuss risk, and then use internal audit as an arm to go and explore that risk. Hoping to be more robust on this side. The other thing, the president has really set up a series of structured meetings with his senior leadership, both the senior staff and then academic leadership and non-academic leadership, where we get that constant feedback loop and are able to bring folks together and really chat through it. The key meeting that he holds is weekly. He and Patty and Richard and Rachel and myself all meet and discuss these very types of issues. So it's a really positive, strong meeting and feedback loop.
Connected, okay. Regent Penley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John, I just want to laud you and President Garamella for taking the step you've taken to have a chief officer in place for risk. This is a good step. It's an important step. It's one that you and I both know should have been taken years ago with the IT risk that the university has had. So I think your presence here, sir, will make a big difference. And I just think this is a very, very fine step. And please convey to the president that I'm happy to see what you and he have done.
Thank you, sir.
Echo that. I think we're all happy to see that. So thank you, Regent Penley. Any other questions? Thanks, U of A team, and frankly, thank you to all three universities for your overview. We'll see you in the executive session here shortly.
Thank you, sir.
This is a discussion item and doesn't require any committee action. The next item is executive session for the items listed on our agenda. I'm going to move to a motion to enter into an executive session for the executive items, session items listed on the current agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Abstentions? The motion carries. We will meet in executive session. This concludes our public session. Thank you.